Welcome back, everyone, to Passionate Pursuits. I'm your host, Bridget Corns, and today it is Saturday, March 16th, and I'm not sure when this episode will be out, probably Monday, but I really wanted to come back to you just by myself and give you a life update because, as you may or may not have noticed, the frequency of episodes has been declining, and there is good reason for that, and I really wanted to it was on my heart to let you all know why that is. And also to assure you that my mission for this podcast has always been and will always be to ignite the potential within you, to touch you in a way that speaks to your soul and reminds you and helps you to remember that you have a great and important and beautiful purpose here in this lifetime. And I want to be a spark that catalyzes other sparks and that activates you into that purpose. So that has always been the mission for Passionate Pursuits. And the vehicle for getting there, my vision for this podcast was to bring on people who are passionately pursuing something. They have found that thing that lights them up. They've remembered the fullness of their potential, and they are using that remembering to the best of their ability to really go after and serve the world from this place of wholeness. And so what I'd love to do is to give you a life update, really brief one, because I don't want to bore you with all of the minutia of my life, but also to share with you some of the things that over this past year and a half, holy moly, a year and a half of the podcast, I have learned so much from all of the beautiful individuals who spent time with me here behind the mic. And I wanted to share some of the takeaways from what I've learned from them. And then I also want to share with you the vision for Passionate Pursuits moving forward. But the super short version, if you get no further than this, is that there are a lot of big life changes going on that I am super excited about because it means that I am living more fully into the wholeness of my identity, and that is beautiful. I want to encourage you to do the same. And that I have learned quite a good deal from all of the individuals who I've gotten to spend time with. And it wasn't just, I set out to do this podcast to really capture the essence of these passionate pursuits. But what I found along the way was that I spent so much time with these individuals that I absorbed their passions, and that I am a different person, actually not a different person. I'm more fully me. I'm more fully myself, who I came here to be because I got to spend time with them. So this is a deep, deep grateful thank you to all of the individuals who spent time with me on this podcast and who made that possible. I can only hope that you also absorb some of their passion and their wisdom from these episodes. And finally, I am looking for people who are lit up, who are living that really joy-filled, bliss-filled life of service to others, who are activated, who are in touch with and becoming more themselves every single day, who are just love radiating, light giving, life breathing. If you are one of those people, or if you know one of those people, would you be so kind as to get in touch or put them in touch with me? I would absolutely love, if nothing else, just to have a conversation with them, because I don't think we can ever get enough of the community of other like light-filled people who are radiating love. So it would be an absolute joy to get to know you or them. So finally, let me back up. Where am I? What's going on right now? So my goodness, it's been quite a season. If I could even call it a season, it's been a little bit more than a season, but it started way back when I had that heart failure, which I've told all of you about. And it went from there, although my heart failure was in 2018, and that was really when I hit that low point. I was very sick. My body, mind, and spirit were all suffering. I actually ended up in the hospital and was told that I was in heart failure. I had a moment where I got to commune with God, and I got to have this wake up moment where I said to God, pretty much, I don't know if I'm going to make it out of here. And if I don't, I'm so filled with love in your presence that that's okay. It's beautiful. But if I do, then I'm committed to being all of me, to bringing all of me forward. And if there are any places I'm showing up right now that are not aligned, I'm going to leave them. And if there are relationships or people who need to shift, if there is a way that I'm not serving their highest good by being in their lives, or if there are people whose highest good I can serve by being in their lives, I want to make those shifts because I am committed, if nothing else, to being my highest expression that God has asked me to be and to serving the highest expression of others, whatever that looks like. And then I also told God that I was committed to taking this path, whatever this path was. I wasn't even sure. I just knew that the full time job that I was in at that moment was not the right fit for me. They were an organization that was doing incredible things and serving people in a beautiful way, but it wasn't right for me. And so I committed that if I made it out of that hospital, if I got this second chance, that there were a lot of things that I was committed to shifting. And that is exactly what happened. So I did immediately take the step of quitting my full time job. But it took me a really long time, even after hitting that point, even after coming to the point of being told that I was dying. It took me a really long time to take those other steps. I want you to hear this because this is so important. We often talk about those of us who've been through these events. We often talk about the ensuing experiences as having happened quickly, as having made this like I wake up and I'm a new person kind of change. And that's not the case. It takes courage and action every single day to show up and continue walking the steps, even when you've had that kind of challenge or trial or difficulty or hardship welcome you. So it took 4 years about from when I had my heart failure to close my business, to start keeping a daily gratitude journal, to explore coaching programs to become the best and strongest version of myself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all of the fronts, to explore where I wanted to go in my career. I love the idea of being a teacher. But being a teacher in a school was not the right fit for me, and especially not the school where I was serving. So I looked into other options to sit down with people who I really, really trusted and have these conversations and say, where do you see me? What do you see my gifts being? Because I'm so myopic, because I am me and I can only see what's right in front of me. I feel like I need this community to come around me and wrap me in and say, hey, these are your gifts. This is how I see you showing up. And that may or may not be the direction that you go when you do something like that, but it's so helpful to see yourself from someone else's perspective. So I applied for the Co-Creators Incubator through the American Baptist Home Mission Societies. I got accepted to that. I started my podcast. This all happened in 2022, 4 years after my heart failure. Then I got into that Co-Creators Incubator, and I was in that for another year. I consciously uncoupled from my marriage because I knew that it was the right thing to serve the highest good for myself and for my former partner. I knew that it was what was best for our children. I knew that we could still maintain a healthy friendship, a healthy kinship, and not be in an intimate relationship. I knew that it was best. And then I also finally, at 38 years old, got to come out. What a joy that was. But also, how terrifying having lived that many years and never spoken that truth out loud to anyone. I'd repeated it to myself in silence many times. I'd talked about it with God many times, but to finally get it to say it out loud, to own it, to live it, to live into that truth, what an experience, and how much courage that took to actually get to do that. And I wanted to say this again and reiterate this again, because I don't care if you are 15 years old, if you're 30 years old, if you're 50 years old, if you're 80. I don't care how old you are, what phase of life you think you're in. It is never too early or too late to live into your fullest expression. Never. And I am here to support you and become like a doula for your fullest expression to unfold and to bloom. So I finally got to start living into my full expression. I met a wonderful person who is now a co-creator with me in a lot of the different ventures that I'm exploring, and who is an incredible, loving partner in the way that you always thought was possible, but not the traditional way that we are taught. I've noticed that the love that we're taught and that we grow up with is a completely different version than what love looks like when it's divinely grounded, and when it's spiritually shared, and when it is this, we get told this a lot. I grew up in Christian circles. We get told that love is God first, and then your partner, and then your children, and so on. But that was just a phrase to me. It wasn't an actually embodied experience. And now that I'm having an embodied experience of what that looks like, to be totally committed to the highest good of another person, because you are so fully sold out to God and so completely in love with the expression of God and the divinity that God has breathed into every human on this planet. When you fall in love with that, then you can love a person fully, because you're not invested in the outcome of who they are or in physical expressions. You are fully in love with the highest good that they are becoming day after day after day. And it's a sacrificial love. It's a change minded love. It's a love that gives you an opportunity to say, I love you today, and tomorrow I'll love you even more, because together we're growing into the highest expressions that God has for us. And of course, because I fully love God and I'm learning to love God more day after day, then I'm learning to love you as you grow into that. Of course, that's how it looks. So that's where I am now. And life has been not easy. It's been quite a challenge, but it's been a beautiful challenge, because it was a challenge that I got to walk into feeling really, really, really good about. Like, yes, this is my emphatic yes. This is a life that I want to have. This is a life that I love and that I get to enjoy being a part of and creating day after day and co-creating with God. This is the life. And even when things are hard, and even when seemingly negative things happen, it's all filtered through that perception of, I love this life. It's such a gift to get to live. So, what a difference it is. And that in itself, your life in itself, is your passionate pursuit. Just living, just being your fullest expression, that is your primary passionate pursuit. And then we take on these other things that we do along the way, like making a podcast and sharing with others, or working a job where we get to be love in expression to others on a daily basis. Doing these passion projects that get us excited and fill us with joy for however long we do them, creating things, being an artist, being a writer, being a singer, sharing a healing gift with the world, whatever it may be. Those are also passionate pursuits, but they all spring from your primary passionate pursuit, which is remembering the wholeness of who you are, remembering the divine spark within you, and daily activating that spark more and more and more. So when you enter the world, when you serve others through these avenues, you radiate love, goodness, joy, abundance, peace, bliss, gratitude, light, all of the things that draw people to you. And those are the things that I saw before I started Passionate Pursuits that made me go, I want to know what that person's got because I want some of that. I can tell when I walk into the presence of someone who is just lit up with this divine light that just emanates from them. I can tell, and I want some of that. I can feel it coming off of them, this radiating, love-filled presence. And I want some of that. And I want to be that. I want people who are in my presence to feel loved just from being nearby, not from anything I might say or do, but just because I am so in love with what God is doing through me, through humanity on this earth, in this expression of God's self. I want them to feel that love. So finally, I am looking for those people. That's what this podcast set out to do, and that is what it will continue to do. And although the frequency of it is going to change because, oh, by the way, I have a full-time job now working from home. I'm still working with students, but I absolutely adore my job now. I get to work virtually with students who can't be in classrooms for whatever reason, and I get to work one-on-one, and that just lights me up. I love the connection. I love the opportunity to pour into another human and to just be present for them as they go through this phase in their lives. I just love the opportunity to get to do that. So I'm working, and I'm working a lot, and I'm really enjoying it. But that means that my focus on the podcast has had to roll back just a little bit. But I will be continuing the podcast, and the frequency will be 1, 2, maybe 3 or 4 times a month. It will be when I have someone who really inspires, who I feel really good about. I only want to bring you interviews with people who I just feel inspired by. I want to be around, and I know that their stories and the words they have to share are going to impact you and are going to help you activate your potential. Those are the kind of people who I'm committed to having on the podcast. So when I feel really good about someone, I'm going to bring them on. And if there are 4 of those in a month, awesome. And if there's only one, also awesome. Because I only want people to come on who also share this mission and this vision and who are here for the right reasons and who are going to activate you. So that is pretty much everything I have to share with you today. I'm so grateful that today I'm getting to share a space with some beautiful humans in a retreat center locally. I'm going to head back to that center because there is almost nothing better than spending time in meditation. And as I promised, I'm going to share the takeaways from this past year and a half of Passionate Pursuits with you. So here we go. I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 6 takeaways and a question. So if you are taking notes for whatever reason, I love to take notes. If you're a note taker, then let's go. Let's do this. There are 6 takeaways that I have from the time I've gotten to spend behind the mic and behind the camera with these incredible individuals over the past year and a half. And here they are. Number 1, that those negative or hard events, those dark nights of the soul, as many of my guests have called them, those events are our greatest teachers. They are the catalysts in our lives that are going to bring change, that are going to shift things. Those events are gifts, and we can have gratitude for them when we recognize the fact that the hard things we've been through, whether we put ourselves through it or whether we experienced it, those hard things, they do not make you a victim. They make you this incredible co-creator in your life, and they are a gift. So those negative events, those hard events, those are our great teachers. Number 2, that living a life passionately, that pursuing these passions in your life, that serving the world from the wholeness of who you are and your passions, that is courage in action. It never becomes easier. maybe easier in the sense of I've done this before, so I feel like I'm a little bit more primed to continue doing it. But courage is action in the presence of fear. So someone who does not feel a little bit of fear, a little twinge of fear, excitement, really, if you want to know that fear and excitement are exactly the same thing chemically to the body, it can't discern the difference between them. So tell yourself, I'm excited when you feel that little twinge. Courage in action. Living your passionate pursuit is just putting courage in action every single day. We're going to do things every day that stretch us. We're going to do things every day that take us far outside our comfort zone. And maybe they may be something that's really little to someone else. I get super anxious when I have to make a phone call. Okay, that's a little thing to someone else. They have no problem picking up the phone and dialing the number and talking to the person on the other end. I get anxious when I have to make a phone call. So no matter what your little things are that you have to do every day that require courage of you, just remember that your passionate pursuit is going to require you to put courage in action every single day. If you are not doing that, then find someone who is, or find someone who will encourage you. Encourage. Reach out to them. Get someone who will walk alongside you. I would be more than happy to be that person for you. So reach out, please. 3, that it is absolutely essential, and I got reminded of this again today, that we spend time in silence and stillness. Now listen, I know I am a mom of 4. I live most of the time alone with my 4 children and my puppy and our fish and dirty floors and dirty dishes and laundry that is overflowing, okay? And paint on the back of couches and food splattered on the walls. These are all things that I encounter on a daily basis. I know that it is challenging sometimes to find silence and stillness, but we have to make space to listen to what God is telling us. You are a divine spark. Where do you think that spark came from? You have to tend that spark. Sometimes you got to go and light it up a little bit more. And the only way that you are consistently going to be able to do this is spending time listening, is spending time breathing, sitting, whether that's in prayer, meditation, mindfulness, however you do it. Close your mouth or open it if you need to breathe through your mouth. Quiet your mind as best you can and listen. Silence can be really uncomfortable, but silence too is a great teacher. And the more you spend time in silence and the more you are still, the more you will hear Spirit speaking. Spirit is not separate from you. God is not separate from you. God is not somewhere out there. You are within God and God is within you. And the way that we nurture that connection is through silence and stillness. So set a 5-minute timer, set a 2-minute timer, whatever you have to do to get started. It is worth it. That's takeaway number 3. Takeaway number 4. All of us have a path within. All of us have this blueprint for what our life looks like, this higher ideal, it's not necessarily a, go to that green leaf and make a sharp right and then walk 50 paces and then make a left at the turnstile. Like, it's not that kind of a map. We came here with this kind of sketched out guidebook of lessons we wanted to learn, people we wanted to wrap in, a vision we had, a way to co-create and share with the world, a way to serve others, a way to be love in action. We have a plan, all of us. And it's not a matter of someone, a guru, a teacher, telling you the way that you are supposed to go, although some can and some may. But ultimately, you absolutely know the right path for yourself. You are the only one besides God who can fully know the expression of what your highest self looks like. You can get in touch with your higher self, with spirit, with God, with the universe, with this all pervasive oneness, with love. And you can remember why you are here. You can remember what you set out to do to serve this world. Every single one of you can remember. Remembering simply means, and I know I've broken this down before, but this is really important. Remember, to put yourself, your members, the parts of you back together. To remember yourself is just to put the wholeness of you back together into whole alignment. That's it. You were never anything but whole. You were never less than. You're always full, complete, beautiful, an expression of God in flesh, an expression of God in flesh. You. So you can remember what you came here for. And sometimes that requires asking people to wrap in. And this is takeaway number 5, community. Community is a necessity. It's a necessary part of being human. When we are human, we cannot figure out what the self is if we are not in relation with other selves. Simply, we have to have community. We see more of self in community. We reflect off of one another. It's like a whole bunch of mirrors being held up to your little divine spark. It's a whole lot brighter when you are in community. And it can be a whole lot more challenging, but always, challenges can be used for your highest good. So you can remember, and the way we do it sometimes is in community, whether that is one, like a community of you and a coach, you and a guide, you and a spiritual director, whoever that person may be. I'll be your community. Like I've said, reach out. I love being that person for others. That lights me up, and I want to see you lit up. Reach out. My partner has this incredible program that she has developed through her own life experience, through decades in the field of social work, through helping others, through her own burnout, through her study of herself and of teachers and of wisdom, through her lived experience. It's called Authentically You. She is a one-on-one coach. She's a guide. She's put together a program, and you can take it multiple ways. You can take it asynchronously online, or you can actually be over Zoom with her, taking this from her. That's just one option. There are so many options for you to plug in and be part of a community. But I would definitely suggest that when you are seeking your passion and when you are trying to live into your highest potential, go find some other people who are either seeking the same thing or doing it, and spend time with them, because that's going to get you closer to being able to do that for yourself. And finally, number 6, I will say that the more I know, the more I study, the more I learn, the more people I listen to, the more I realize that the less I know. So I know that's kind of clunky, but the more I know I know nothing. The more wisdom I gain, the more I realize that that's like peeking at the universe through a pin-sized hole. I know nothing or next to nothing. So I'm just out here doing the best I can with what I have and seeking to know God more, because ultimately we are all part of this God consciousness. We all have access to the source who created it all, who we are creating it all with. So I don't know, but I'll sit in the questions. I will sit in the I don't knows with you to help guide you so you can get closer to your I know. I'm going to say that one more time. I will sit in the questions with you so you can get closer to your I know. And I know so many other individuals who would do that with you as well. They're out there, just look for them. Your spirit will know. I know there are a lot of people out there who are saying that they do these things, who are calling them coaches and guide themselves coaches and guides and whatever. But it will resonate with you, and you will know deep within that those are your people. And when you do, then reach out to them. That's all you have to do. It's courage in action. Takeaway number 2, it's courage in action. So finally, number 6 was I've kind of taken a vow of poverty of mind. I talk a lot. I love talking. I love sharing spiritual ideas. I am a connoisseur of books and wisdom. I love intellectualism. I love academia. I will always be learning and gleaning and talking. But I will say that I know next to nothing. I'm just doing the best I can with what I have. So that's my vow of poverty of mind. The more I know that I know nothing. But I will sit in the I don't know with you. So finally, I promised 6 takeaways and a question. And here is your question. So if you feel like sharing this in the comments on YouTube or over in Spotify or wherever you find this podcast, on Facebook or on Instagram, find me at Bridget Querns. It's pretty easy to find me. Share with me the answer to this question. And the question is, what are you seeking? What are you seeking? Just the act of living alone puts us in the role of seeking something. Just the fact that we came here as a human means that we are seeking something. So the great question for you is, what are you seeking? I'd love for you to share, even if you attack the question with another question. So that is all I have for you today. I hope you all have an absolutely beautiful weekend. And whenever this comes out, I can't wait to share with you on the next leg of this exciting unfolding journey of passionate pursuits. So until next time, my friends, peace, love, and light.